We all good? Go ahead and drop it in the chat there if you guys can still hear my microphone, okay? Awesome. So there's a little bit of a delay between my live stream and the YouTube stream. And, if you're watching this somewhere else other than YouTube, maybe it's embedded or something like that, go ahead and click through to the YouTube stream because this is where we're going to ask questions. So I won't necessarily see your chat if you're in Slack or some other program. So make sure you go ahead and click through to the YouTube stream so that we can communicate there. Awesome. So welcome to the Flash Loan Masterclass. I'm really excited to talk to you about this exciting topic tonight. We're going to cover lots of cool stuff. I'm going to show you how to do one of these step by step with some advanced examples on how to actually do stuff with the funds that you borrow, trade it, do arbitrage, all that kind of stuff. So sit tight and hang on for a wild ride. Let's see here. So we got lots of people in the chat here. We got Jax, we got Colin, we got Richard, we got Luis, Corey, Michael, Andy, Aaron, Justin, Pravir. Nice. We got a good turnout. So I'm excited that you all are here to see this live in person. So let me pull up my notes here. I've got my outline of activities. So welcome. This is 100% live. What I'm going to do tonight is go through, give you an introduction to flash loans, what they are kind of from a conceptual standpoint, what you can do with them, give you some ideas on how to make money on them. But it's not just going to be ideas. I'm going to show you everything. I'm going to show you the code. It's going to be awesome. And yes, for people that are asking, there will be a recording available after this. So, when we're doing the coding examples, probably be hard for everybody to follow along step by step during the live presentation. I highly recommend grabbing the replay link later so that you can, follow along step by step and implement the code examples yourself that way. So let's see here. Hello. Awesome. All right, so what we're going to do, everybody, is I'm going to give the presentation, and I'll probably stop periodically and check out the chat just to make sure everything's going well and there's no major problems. But we're going to hold most of the Q&A till the end, okay? Like I said, I might stop every now and then to check, see if there's some clarifying questions before I proceed. But most of the big questions, let's save them till the end, just so that I have enough time to cover this in a timely fashion. I know a lot of you are staying up late for this or watching it in some different time zone maybe. So I want to respect everyone's time and get through the important stuff, and then give everybody else a chance to ask questions at the end. All right, so let's get started. Let me show you the overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. What we're going to cover. All right, so first and foremost, we're going to talk about what are flash loans. All right, and then we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you profitable examples. All right, and then how to do a flash loan. All right, and then I'm going to show you some arbitrage examples. And don't worry if you don't understand exactly what that is right now. We'll cover everything inside this masterclass. And then last, strategies for profit. Okay, we'll talk about how to formulate strategies for yourself to implement these however you want to. Okay, so tonight, we're opening up this masterclass. This is a one-time event, and we're opening up my membership program, Blockchain Mastery University, for this. So if you're already a part of Blockchain Mastery University, you've got access to the masterclass, and then some of you joined just exclusively for the masterclass. We're glad to have you here. But if you join for this and you're like, hey, I want to learn more about this, get more proficient with blockchain development, as a programmer, maybe you're a cryptocurrency trader, maybe you're a developer already, and you want to, take the knowledge that take the knowledge that I gave you tonight and really build on top of it and learn the skills. Then we're opening Blockchain Mastery back up. So if you didn't choose that when you signed up, that's okay. Feel free to reach out. We can get you set up. It's a membership program. And if you want to join the Blockchain Bootcamp to learn everything step by step, then there should be a link down below in that join page on where you can claim an exclusive 50% off discount for tonight only. All right. So let's talk about flash loans from a high level. Like, what are they? All right. So what are flash loans? I imagine a lot of you know this already. But, this is a masterclass, and I don't necessarily assume that everybody has advanced knowledge yet. So we'll cover everything from scratch in sort of my typical fashion. So flash loans are a brand new topic, relatively speaking, in blockchain. And it's one of the coolest things that I've seen happen in blockchain technology in a long time. It might be one of the biggest jumps forward, honestly. So let me tell you why. Basically, it allows you to do something with blockchain technology that's not really possible in any other way, okay? And I'll explain what I mean by that. Basically, you're able to borrow crazy amounts of money. I mean, basically unlimited amounts of cryptocurrency to do whatever you want with. We're going to talk about the options. Most people use it to trade with, okay? And you can do it as long as you pay it back instantly, all right? So what does that even mean? When I say almost unlimited, what I mean is like, millions of dollars. Basically, there's all this cryptocurrency sitting out there in these things called liquidity pools. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you have access to this with flash loans where you can just borrow it and then trade it and then pay it back in the same transaction, okay? So we'll clarify all those topics here in a minute. But this is so cool because, it's not possible in the traditional financial system. Sure, you can do leverage trades in traditional finance. You can open a margin account. You can do all kinds of stuff. But there's typically like a lot of drawbacks. You have to be approved to do this a lot of time. You need to put money down. There's all kinds of red tape. It might take you a really long time. And there's all kinds of gatekeepers, but that's not really true with flash loans. Okay. You don't really need to put any money down in order to do them. No one is there's no gatekeepers. No one's stopping you from doing it. You don't have to be approved. And it's a really incredible mechanism that pretty much anybody can do with a little bit of coding knowledge. So now it does take a very small amount of cryptocurrency, which I'll show you here in a minute. The flash loans that we're going to be doing tonight are going to be on the Ethereum platform. So you do have to pay gas fees. So you'll need some Ether in your wallet to do that. But, it's a very small amount of money compared to the amount of money that you have to borrow, that you're able to borrow with flash loans. Okay. So let's see here. Yeah. And the other crazy thing about flash loans is you can't lose the money whenever you borrow it. All right. Well, I'll show you examples of this tonight, but basically you can borrow, $1 million, trade it. And if the trade doesn't work out and you don't lose it, you're not really on the line, which is pretty crazy. So why would you use flash loans? So we'll talk about these examples. All right. So the main reason that we're going to talk about tonight is arbitrage. All right. And then people also use them to close out debt. And this is a more advanced example, and honestly, less of a hot topic, I would say, than arbitrage is. So we're going to focus on arbitrage tonight because that's the thing that I use them for and what I'm assuming most people want to see tonight. Okay. So let's talk about arbitrage and why it's so amazing, okay? In this use case. We're going to talk about it more in depth later, but I'll give you a quick overview. All right. So it's really amazing because you don't really need any cryptocurrency to get started. At least you don't need the cryptocurrency that you're borrowing to get started, okay? So like I said, you need a little bit of Ether in your wallet. to do that. But let's say you want to do arbitrage with a cryptocurrency like USDC or DAI, for example. You don't have to hold any of those cryptocurrencies in order to trade it. So if you see an arbitrage opportunity to, take $1 million worth of DAI and fill an order on one exchange and then swap it on a different exchange and pay it back with a flash loan, then you don't have to have that $1 million in order to do this profit, start to do this arbitrage and keep that profit. Okay. And the other thing, like I said a minute ago, it's so amazing because the trades can't fail. And if they fail, the transaction just gets reverted and you don't lose any of the money that you borrowed. And of course you don't get the profit from the arbitrage, but it really eliminates almost all of your risk. I mean, you do lose your transaction fee, but that's a small loss, especially if you're sure that the arbitrage is going to go through. All right, so let's see here. So really quickly, I see a note here. What about slippage? So the funds that go back into the account, basically if the slippage causes the trade to not be profitable, then the transaction will fail as well. So we'll cover more of those towards the end of the FAQ, but I did see that come up. So I want to clarify that, okay? So we're going to go through a couple burning questions that I know lots of people have. First of all is, can you show me profitable examples of arbitrage? Let's see here, make sure the stream's still working okay. So the answer is yes. I'll just show you. So this is one of the original flash loan transactions that was pretty famous. This is a proof of concept, but it shows you, how this works. Basically, this is from the Aave lending pool. We'll talk about Aave here in a minute. It's a flash loan provider. And this is, all the steps that happen in the arbitrage transaction right here. Okay. You can see that was basically like a $3.32 profit. So not much to write home about, but yes, this is a profitable example. And of course you do see this fee right here. So at the time that this was done, this is in current dollars. So this fee would have been less. So you do have to factor in the fees. But I'm pretty sure at the time of this transaction, this was probably half that price, which would mean that it was still a profitable ARB. All right, so let's look at another one here. This is the famous BZX exploit, okay? So this is definitely not something I condone, right? Or am telling you to do, not telling you to use flash loans to exploit protocols. But yeah, here's another example, right? And then I'll show you one more right here. Example of a flash loan with a $43 profit right here. All right, so 43 and then 10,000 WEEF, right? So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So some of these have, small profits. Some of these have large profits. So yeah, you're not, if you have a small profit ARB, that's a small win that you can stack on top of other small wins to create bigger profits. We're going to talk about that later. Sort of the difference between horizontal scale and basically vertical scale. We'll talk about those different. Basically, vertical scale will be trading with larger amounts, taking bigger profits in single trades, and horizontal scale, basically taking smaller profits on more trades to achieve overall greater overall profit. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, so the next thing, people ask me, am I doing this? And the answer is yes. So I am doing this. I'm doing it profitably. I know other developers who are focusing on this too. This really is a hot topic. It's an early time. So, some people say, oh, I've tried it and haven't been able to make money or whatever. Well, the market is always changing with these things, as we'll see later. And also because this is so early, like there's potentially a lot of future opportunity here. Okay. Because the market cap of DeFi and all these things, the liquidity depth is still relatively small in the grand scheme of things. And as the technology grows, if that depth gets bigger and bigger and bigger, the opportunity for this definitely can go up. Okay. So let's see here. So some people are going to ask you inevitably, like, if I'm doing this, then why am I showing you this? All right. So some people definitely will ask, like, okay, so if you're doing this, then why wouldn't I just keep it to myself? Well, basically the cat's out of the bag with flash loans. I've known about these for a while, and others are already like showing people how to do it. So I figured it was time to show you all as well. And I'm going to show you later how to do one strategy for this. And then I'm also going to show you how to find your own strategies. And so once you do, definitely guard it for yourself. Okay. So next question, the burning question is, am I going to make $1 million with this? All right. So, probably not tomorrow, but my advice on something like this is get in there, learn it, craft a strategy that works. I'm going to show you some strategies later. All right. And then nail your strategy and scale it. It's the old nail it and scale it strategy. Okay. So basically, I'm going to show you how to scale it. We'll talk about vertical scale and horizontal scale later. But if this is a skill that I think is well worth honing, like I said, I'm working on this myself. I'm devoting a considerable amount of time to this actually. So that's my strategy. My strategy is basically get it right, get the strategy down, and find something that works, rinse and repeat over and over and over again. And so that's the long play approach that potentially could make you a lot of money with something like this, okay? So let's go ahead and talk about vertical scale and horizontal scale. So what do I mean by that? So vertical scale. So basically, vertical scale means making lots of money in one single transaction, okay? So that's going to happen whenever you find like profitable arbitrage opportunities to close out much larger positions, okay? So let's say you could make like a $10,000 profit in one trade or something like that, or however much, right? That'd be a large vertical scale. So the other way to do this is horizontal scale. Okay, so vertical scale would make a lot of money at one time. Horizontal scale will be making a lot of money by doing smaller transactions over and over and over and over and over again, right? So, I showed you like, and it's much more likely that you're going to find smaller arbitrage opportunities than massive ones, although the massive ones definitely are out there. So like, for example, if you took, one of these trades right here with a smaller profit, right? Let's say it was only like a $5 profit or something like that. I mean, what if you did it 10,000 times, right? That would be pretty crazy. That's what I mean by horizontal scale. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna check on the stream here, make sure everything's doing okay. All right. So I'll go in and answer a quick question that I see here. A flash loan is only used for crypto or something? Like, can someone try to buy a house using a flash loan? So yes, it is only for cryptocurrency and any digital asset that can be valued on the blockchain. So the primary use case here is trading, which we'll see here in a minute. All right, so let's see here. So he says vertical scale should be up and down. Yeah, I just underlined the words of vertical scale and then horizontal scale. All right, so let's talk about flash loan platforms, okay? We're gonna actually dig into this and do a flash loan here in a minute, but I wanna give you, a big overview to the topic and show you some different ways that you can do them, all right? First of all, I'm gonna pull up a link here. So one of the popular flash loan providers is Aave. So Aave isn't just about flash loans, and neither is the other one that I'm going to show you here in a minute. But essentially, Aave has a very large liquidity pool behind it, which basically means there's just a lot of cryptocurrency sitting in a smart contract somewhere that can be used for multiple purposes. And flash loans are one of those purposes, okay? So I'll show you that. So Aave is a very popular flash loan provider. All right. So I cover videos on Aave inside the Blockchain Mastery University Video Vault. So if you want to see more videos on how to use Aave as opposed to the other platform I'm going to show you here in a minute, feel free to reach out. Like I said, we're opening that program back up for this particular masterclass. So if you want to get some more help with Aave, then definitely jump in there. We've got some folks who are working on that in the program. And the other flash loan provider, the major one, all right, is DYDX, okay? So DYDX is another decentralized trading protocol that has a large liquidity pool behind it that does a lot of different things, but it also does flash loans. And like I said, that's a pretty common use case where you'll have these big decentralized applications that are there for trading. They have money sitting around, and they basically are adding flash loans on as features because there's demand for them, because the flash loan providers can make money off of them in terms of fees, okay? And it's also a good discovery tool for the technology. If somebody finds out you can do flash loans, then they're willing to see what other services you offer as well. All right. So now, let's go ahead and get into the hands-on portion of things. Let's talk about how to do a flash loan step by step. All right. So one of the really cool things about flash loans, well, there's two things, okay? There's lots of things, but I want to make 2 points. First of all, in case you aren't aware, this does require some coding, all right? Now, that's the bad news, but the good news is, honestly, it doesn't take that much coding knowledge on the grand scheme of things in order to do this, especially compared to the other types of things you might have to do as a developer. All right, so let me explain. It's only one programming language, all right? You can do everything in your web browser. You don't have to set anything up on your computer. And tonight, I'm gonna just give you a template for doing flash loans where you've got pretty much all the code you need to do it. You just need to fill in a few pieces, okay? So, I mean, compared to other things you might have to learn to do as a software developer, like set up everything, learn like multiple programming languages and build a really complex application, like this is way simpler compared to that, okay? You don't have to build any user interfaces or anything. So that's the good news. So if you're a trader tonight, maybe you're a cryptocurrency holder, investor, trader, if you want to learn more about programming, this might even be a good way to start. Like you could just learn to code for this purpose. In fact, I'm a really big believer in purpose-driven learning where you have a really specific goal in mind and you just learn enough to do that thing because you'll learn so much faster. Okay, so let's talk about how to do it step by step. If you're watching on the stream, there should be some resource links down below. Click on that first link, head on over to remix.ethereum.org. And, you know, like I said earlier, if you're watching this and you're, it might be hard to follow along with everything step by step while I'm doing it on the video. I highly recommend just checking out the replay link. But I'm going to show you everything. We're recording this so you can watch it later. But if you want to follow along, you can definitely try. So, yeah, open Remix. All right, so this is an in-browser IDE, which basically means it's a place where you can develop software. And the software in this case are just going to be smart contracts, okay? So smart contracts are what you use to create flash loans, all right? Actually take them out and do things with them. So you can go to your file browser right here and create a new file and put in this flash loan here. So basically just go here, click the new file, type in flashloan.sol, click OK, all right? And then go back to the other resource and click on this gist right here. So go to flashloan.sol, click raw, copy this, all right, and then paste it into Remix here, okay? So that resource is the flash loan template, all right? So like I said, this is Solidity. This is the main programming language used for writing Ethereum smart contracts. This is a smart contract here, and it has all of the libraries and everything wired up to do a flash loan with DYDX. Okay, this is the flash loan provider that we're going to use tonight. Okay, so it already has DYDX installed into the smart contract, like a plug-in almost. You can think about it that way if you're not much of a coder. If you are a coder, basically this is just inheriting from another smart contract inside of here that has all the DYDX code inside of it already. It's already got the addresses for the DYDX pool right here. It already supports multiple cryptocurrencies like WETH, SAI, USD, and DAI. Okay. So also, if you saw me do the video talking about the flash loan, doing that big trade, then this is the exact code that I used. Okay. So you're just getting all of this just by joining tonight. Okay. So yeah, this is where you create the file. So there's multiple steps here. You add the file here. So we're just going to know the flash loan. We'll talk in a minute about how to actually wire this thing up and do extra stuff with it. But for now, we're just going to concentrate on just taking out the loan. Keep things simple and then make it more complex in a minute. Okay. So, it's a multi-step process. You add the code here. You go to the compilation step. All right. So this is important. Make sure you click this compiler version. So theoretically, this video should work forever. Shouldn't need to be updated, because if you always click this Solidity version 0.5.6 instead of Remix, this should always work. Okay. And then click compile. And then actually you want to click this, make sure you have flash loan selected here. All right. And everything compiled properly, so no errors. So what's happening in the compilation step is it's taking all this code here. This is called source code. This is human readable code. Okay. And it compiles it. It like changes all the code into something that a machine can understand. So like a human can read this, but a machine understands something else. And that's what the compilation step is. Okay. So the next thing you need to do is actually put this on a blockchain. So, before you proceed with this, like I said, you definitely need a little bit of Ethereum cryptocurrency in your wallet in order to do this. So I highly recommend using MetaMask for this. All right, you can just install it from the Google Chrome Web Store. Just go to Google Chrome, search MetaMask, click install, and you should be ready to go. And I'm going to do this on the main Ethereum network, okay? And there's a few reasons why. Number one, the flash loan providers, a lot of times they don't work on test networks. So, if you're a developer, you might know that there are multiple Ethereum networks. There's the main network. This is where the Ethereum that everyone uses and agrees upon. This is it, right? Then it has these other test networks. So we can't really use these test networks because the flash loan providers don't support those. So I code against the mainnet whenever I'm doing this stuff. I know it kind of sucks a little bit because you have to spend real money whenever you put smart contracts on the network and do transactions. So if you're like testing things out, you actually do have to spend money. You might be able to try like pointing your Ganache instance to the mainnet. This is for developers here. You might pointing your Ganache instance to the mainnet, but sometimes that gets kind of buggy. So I just code against mainnet. If you're going to do that, you need an Ethereum wallet. You need some actual Ethereum in your account here. So, you can use whatever crypto exchange you want to if you're in the United States or elsewhere. I recommend using Coinbase for this. I know a lot of people don't like to KYC and do all that kind of stuff. If you have a different exchange that you like, or you have a different way of acquiring Ethereum or Ether, feel free to go ahead. But if you're US-based customer, I just recommend Coinbase. But do your own research. You can use whoever you like. So you need some Ether. Stick it in your wallet here. Go to the deployment step here, and then click the injected Web3 provider. Okay, this is actually going to connect to the main Ethereum network. All right, so that's what I'm doing. And then here's the next important step. Okay. What we're going to do is use this flash loan to borrow Ether. And whenever we do that, we have to pay a small fee to the DYDX protocol, okay? And that fee is going to get deducted straight from our smart contract. So whenever we do that, we actually need to send a little bit of cryptocurrency to this smart contract to pay the fees. So in here, I'm going to put 5 Wei. Okay, so Wei is like the penny for Ether. It's the smallest unit of Ether. So think about the US dollar has like, 1 penny, 100 pennies is $1. Well, Ethereum has like 1 followed by 18 decimal places, Wei. So basically this is a really tiny amount of Ether worth like a fraction of a penny. So I'm gonna go ahead and deploy. Okay, so I got a problem here. I see what it is. I clicked the wrong smart contract. So you have to make sure you have flashloan selected here. All right, 5 Wei, deploy. Okay, so this is 23 Gwei. This will take a few minutes probably to deploy. I'm gonna do it. Click confirm in MetaMask. You see a confirmation pop up. So this will be a little bit expensive. All right, $8. So yeah, this is a little bit pricey. Click confirm. Yeah, Ethereum's gone up. I think it's at about $250 right now. All right, so, okay, this is gonna take a few minutes to succeed. I should have raised the gas limit on this. So anyways, we're putting the smart contract on the network right now. I will cover some more topics. We don't have to wait all day for this to finish, but that's basically how you do it. So that's how you put the smart contract on the network. I'm going to show you how to perform the flash loan here in a minute, but those are the preliminary steps. I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions really quickly while this is working. So where did I get the flash loan template? So the links are down in the description. All right. Everybody's looking pretty like they're doing all right. Okay. I think it's finished here. Okay, perfect. So we'll go look at the contract. It was deployed successfully. So you can see here that this has ERC20 tokens in the smart contract. So let me explain that. Basically, we sent some Ethereum or Ether to the smart contract. We're doing the flash loan. And what we did was wrap it, okay? And we wrapped it in something called WETH. So WETH is an ERC20 token. So let me explain that. So WETH allows you to take Ether, the native Ethereum, the native cryptocurrency on Ethereum, and turn it into an ERC20 token. So why? Well, basically, Ether, if you give Ether to an exchange, you can't just necessarily give it to an exchange and revoke access, but you can do that with ERC20 tokens, and that's why we wrap them. That's why we wrap our Ether in WETH to turn Ether into an ERC20 token so that we can revoke access from exchanges and things like that. Okay. So that's what we do here inside this constructor function inside the smart contract. So I'll even just bump this up a little bit. So this is the function that gets run whenever the contract's deployed to the network. And what we do is wrap the Ether with message value. So message value is the amount of Ethereum we sent here, or Ether. And when you do WETH call and then pass in the value, then it turns it into an ERC20 token and assigns it basically to this smart contract, okay? And the reason this smart contract needs WETH is to pay the fees when we do the flash loan. Okay, so whenever we do, we're going to do it with DYDX, and they have a really low fee, which basically gets deducted from the contract here. All right, so let's do it. I'll show you how to do the flash loan here. You get it straight from Remix, okay? Do get flash loan. And then what we're going to do is borrow WETH, because that's what we just sent to our smart contract here. So let's click on WETH here. All right, here's the WETH address. Paste it in here. And then let's borrow let's actually do $1 million. Okay, so let's do $1 million in Ether. So on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so let's do a little more just to be sure. All right, so we'll do 4,050 Ether, 4,050 Ethereum, be a little over $1 million. So paste that in here. And you have to make this number bigger, okay? So for the same reason that I mentioned earlier, where Ethereum has 18 zeros behind the decimal place, all right? Like a $1 US has has 2 zeros behind the decimal place. Ethereum has 18 decimals. So you don't use decimals on the blockchain, so you got to put 18 zeros after this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right. Click transact. Sign the transaction. I'm just going to do 35 Gwei because I want it to go faster. So this will be a little expensive. That's okay. All right. So this stayed less than a minute. So somebody says, why not borrow something crazy like $1 billion? So you can't borrow $1 billion. So I'll clarify what I meant earlier. At least I don't think you could borrow $1 billion. So you're limited to what the liquidity depth is in the liquidity pool. It's a lot of money. It's millions and millions of dollars, okay? But it's not technically unlimited amounts of money because the money has to be there. But you can still borrow millions and millions of dollars to do this. So I just chose $1 million because it's a cool number. And there we go. Boom. So 4,050 Ether, which is 1,008,000 US dollar right now. All right. So there we go. All right. So that is a successful flash loan right before your eyes. That's how you can do it yourself, step by step. Now, all we did there was just borrow the funds and just pay it right back. Okay. So we didn't actually do anything with it. Okay. But you can do stuff with this money. I'm going to show you how in a minute. I'll show you examples. Okay. But that's just the first step is understanding how this works, is just getting comfortable with opening Remix, putting this flash loan template inside of here, because we're going to use this template here in a minute to actually show you how to do trades. Okay. Because yeah, I'll show you that in a minute. And just getting through the flow of like getting your wallet set up, putting Ether in it, deploying it to the network, and performing the flash loan. That's what I recommend doing first before you get anything any more complicated, okay? So let me walk you through a little bit more of the code really quickly. There's two things here. This is the main function for getting the flash loan. This is the token that you want to borrow. In this case, we did WETH, and we borrowed $1 million, right? And then it has this internal function where you can customize right here to actually, use the money to do whatever you want to. Like those use cases I talked about earlier. Like arbitrage is probably the biggest example that people want to know about. So that's what we're going to talk about. So yeah, the real kicker is, what do you do right here in this comment? Use the money here. And that's what I'm about to show you. All right. So take a little second here, take a drink. So what you do in here are execute complex transactions. Excuse me. So I'll explain what I mean by that. A simple transaction on the Ethereum network is like, if you gave me your wallet address right here, and I just sent you some Ether, and pasted in your address, click confirm, sent you $10 worth of cryptocurrency, then that would be a simple transaction on the blockchain, because all it does is just send money from one account to another, okay? But there are complex transactions that have multiple steps, okay? And that's exactly like what I showed you earlier, like when I showed you one of these, for example. This is a complex transaction with multiple steps, okay? Right? Compared to these really simple transactions like the flash loan that I just did, where I just borrowed the money and paid it right back. This is a much more complex transaction that used a flash loan, okay? So that's what you do inside of here. You can execute multiple lines of code, and each lines of those code can trigger a transaction. So let's show you an example. Or we'll talk about an example, then I'll show it to you. Let's talk about arbitrage. Show you how arbitrage works. So what is arbitrage? So in terms of cryptocurrency trading, let's see here. So I'm going to check the questions here really quickly, make sure we're okay. So I'll answer a lot of these questions towards the end. Colin asked, if you don't have to pay interest, you have to pay a small fee, and the fee was deducted from the smart contract. Let's see here. So yeah, interest. I mean, it's a fee. It kind of is interest, but it's like really tiny. Okay. So what is arbitrage? So basically, it's just buying cryptocurrency, buying an asset for one price and selling it for a higher price. Okay. So you can do this in traditional financial markets. You can do it in traditional cryptocurrency markets on centralized exchanges, where you buy, say, Bitcoin for $10,000, and then you sell Bitcoin for $10,001 and make a profit, right? But the problem is the price might change on you. Okay, that's the real problem. By the time you buy it, by the time you sell it, the price might change. And with flash loans, you don't have that problem. So let me explain this a little more. Okay. So arbitrage would be exchange A. Say, let's just use, we used Ether or WETH in that last example. Okay. Let's talk about a new cryptocurrency. So this is DAI token. So this is a really important cryptocurrency on the Ethereum network. It's an Ethereum token. It's a stable coin whose price doesn't change. It's a crypto native stable coin, so it's not backed by fiat currency. It's backed by cryptocurrency, which is a big deal because it makes it harder to regulate. Anyways, DAI is an important currency because it's pegged to the US dollar, stable currency, price doesn't change. And so that's the other cryptocurrency we're going to talk about. So talk about Ether or WETH, the native cryptocurrency of the Ethereum blockchain, and then also DAI, which will be like our US dollar almost on the Ethereum blockchain. Okay. So what we're going to do in our example is talk about buying, DAI. Okay. So basically on exchange A, let's talk about Ether is $100, and exchange B, let's say it's Ether is like $101. Okay. So an arbitrage exists in this case because there's two different exchanges with a price discrepancy. So you can buy the cryptocurrency on exchange A and sell it on exchange B for a $1 profit. All right. Now that's not that cool because you only make $1. But if you have, 10,000 of this asset, then that's a big profit, right? It's $10,000 profit, minus the fees. And that's why flash loans are so cool, is because you don't actually have to have 10,000 of this asset. You could just borrow it to take advantage of this difference in price. Okay. So that's a 1% difference. And, in crypto, we see these kinds of 1% spreads happen a lot, actually. So I'll clarify that more. This is called a spread right here. Okay, so spread. And that's just the price difference. It's a 1% spread, okay? And exchanges, you're talking about a traditional exchange, like an order book has a buy price and a sell price, right? So what you'd be doing is looking at the buy price on this exchange and the sell price on this exchange. That's the spread. The spreads exist in their own exchanges, right? If you go to an order book, you'll see let's just look at it we won't look at it right now. Basically, you look at an order book and you see the buy orders and the sell orders, and typically there's some kind of spread inside of here. And when you're doing arbitrage, you're actually bringing an efficiency to the marketplace because you're reducing this spread. And DeFi really kind of needs arbitragers for that example because it makes markets more efficient. It brings prices closer together. So that's what it is. All right, so let's see here. So let's talk about the sequence of arbitrage. So that's what arbitrage is buying on exchange A, selling on exchange B, profiting the difference. You talked about that horizontal scale. This would be a vertical scale, I would say, of either taking advantage of this with a very large amount, like maybe you borrowed $10,000 of the asset and got a $10,000 profit, or maybe maybe the depth of the trade wasn't that much. Maybe it wasn't a 10,000 asset order. Like you won't always see that, right? Someone may not be selling 10,000 Ether. So even if you borrowed 10,000 Ether, it wouldn't matter, right? A lot of times they're smaller, but you might see somebody with a 100 Ether order. Like that's not out of the question. Okay. And sure, that's only $100 profit on a spread like this, but sometimes the spreads are bigger. Sometimes the spreads are 5%, right? So that'd be $5, and that'd be a $500 profit, right? So, if you did that on average once a day, right? I mean, or maybe you found a $5 profit, $10 profit, and you could just do it over and over and over and over and over again. That's the whole idea here. All right, so let's talk about an ARB sequence. ARB sequence. So basically, it's pretty simple. It means you just start with token A, all right, and then you convert it into token B, and then you go back to token A. And basically, you want to end up with more of token A at the end than you started with. That's a profitable arbitrage, okay? So there's a price here in between, and you exchange it for token A, swap it to token B, and then go back to token A, and then you end up with more token A than what you started with, okay? That's a pretty basic idea, but I just wanted to illustrate that on paper so that everybody's clear. So the next thing is, when does this work best? So it works best when the spreads are bigger, and we see the spreads happen in more volatile markets, okay? So we've had some good amount of volatility lately. I'll show you. So basically, whenever the price jumps up and down like crazy like this, all right, and you see these like big, like 1% spikes, like this is I'm trying to think of the time window here, but like, let's just look at CoinMarketCap. Like, look, in the past 24 hours, it was a 1% change. Sometimes you'll see these like 1% changes in an hour. Sometimes you'll see more than 1% changes in an hour, stuff like that. That's when the arbitrage opportunities really start popping up, okay? When you see these really sharp changes in price over really small time periods, okay? That's when markets are super volatile. They're jumping around like crazy, and that's what basically causes markets to go out of sync. And like I was talking about earlier, you as a DeFi arbitrager, a cryptocurrency arbitrager, that's what you're doing. You're bringing markets into efficiency so that the different markets on the different exchanges, don't have such big spreads. All right, I'm just checking the chat here, make sure everybody's good. So yeah, there's lots of questions here. People talking about slippage and things like that. Let's kind of hold some of those questions towards the end. I want to get through more of these coding examples, then we'll definitely get into the FAQ. Okay, so let's keep going here. So yeah, let's talk about some ARB strategies, okay? So I see people talking about these in the chat already. So ARB strategies. Let's look at some real world examples, and then we'll look at the code. So let's look at a couple different exchanges. I see some people talk about this in the chat already, so we'll use this as an example. We'll say buy cryptocurrency on Kyber network, and then we'll sell it on, let's just sell it on Uniswap. Okay. And the token sequence that we're going to do is DAI to Ether, back to DAI. Okay. So I'll pull these up here on my screen. So Kyber network is a decentralized exchange. Uniswap is also a decentralized exchange. They work slightly differently, but you're able to purchase tokens and sell tokens on them, buy and sell tokens basically. And you have access to both of these because they both have smart contracts on the blockchain. And we can integrate with their smart contracts inside of our own flashloan smart contracts to do trading in single transactions. Okay, so it's all trustless trading. They're non-custodial. It's pretty awesome. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to hold DAI, or we're going to borrow DAI. So I say this is the flash loan asset right here. All right, and then we're going to buy Ether. Okay, and then we're gonna borrow DAI. We're gonna sell it for Ether essentially on Kyber. It's a buy order. We're buying Ether, and then sell it back to DAI on Uniswap. And then the goal is to have more DAI than we started with. Okay, so that's the idea. All right, I'm just looking at the chat here, making sure that we're good. We're good. Okay. So, I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay. Now, there is a small problem, and that's basically that an arbitrage opportunity doesn't necessarily exist right now, but I'm going to show you the code on how to do it, but I probably won't be able to perform it because there's no opportunity like at this very point in time while I'm recording this video. Okay. I have to wait for the opportunities to happen. It's kind of like being a hunter. You know what I mean? So, like I showed you here a second ago, like with, CoinMarketCap, I don't see necessarily a huge price change in Ether that would allow this opportunity to be profitable at this point in time. But I'll show you the code implementation for the strategy, okay? So let me pull it up here. Well, actually, before we get into the full implementation, let me show you basically how this is going to work from a high level, all right? So how this is going to work is basically we'll sell token. We'll have one transaction, okay? And inside that transaction, we will buy tokens, or we'll borrow tokens. We'll sell tokens, and then we'll buy them back. Actually, before we do this, we also need to approve the tokens. Okay. So these are the high-level steps, and I'm going to show you a pseudocode example of this. All right, this is not the actual implementation, but I want to show you a very overly simplified pseudocode example so that if like you're digging into this and you want to understand how the code actually works, that you see a really basic example before you try to implement a complex example. Okay, so go down to the resources here and click on the second GitHub link there. That's the simple ARB, okay? So find that's the second GitHub link, simple ARB, okay? So you can copy this. You can either read it inside the gist or go to Remix, okay? Again, you don't want to put this on the blockchain. You just want to put it in your text editor so you can read it. This is not a working arbitrage example. It's a very simplified code example just to show you the basics of how an operation like this might take place. And I want you to understand the basics in the simple version before you try to go implement a complex version, because yeah, I like to do things in that fashion, and I think it helps other people too. Okay. So this is going to tell you everything you need. So I showed you the flash loan template. So hear me out here. This is what we're doing. I showed you the flash loan template. I'm going to show you an example of basically like an arbitrage smart contract without the flash loan and sort of the really high level steps that would happen inside of an arbitrage contract. And then you can plug them in together to create a sophisticated arbitrage example, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. This is the ARB example that we'll go through here in a second. Okay. But for now, let's look at the simple ARB. Okay. So here's like an ARB function. Like this is what you would call, oh, sorry. My text editor is kind of freaking out here, guys. Here's this ARB function. This is like what you would call inside of the flash loan contract. You know, you see down here, you know, use the money here. This is like the function that you would call. We'll plug that in here in a minute. So what this is an example that would borrow 100 tokens. It would approve them to be spent on the exchange. It sells them for Ether, and then buys the tokens back. And hopefully you have a profit here at the end, okay? So if you're gonna do something like this, let me point out several key things. The first is you need the address of the exchange. So this actually is the Kyber network exchange address. You need the address of exchange 2. This is actually the Uniswap exchange address for DAI. Actually, in this case, okay, guys, we're using Psi for clarification. Psi is the old version of DAI, but that's what we're using, okay? And this is the actual Psi exchange on Uniswap. Uniswap uses multiple exchange smart contracts based on the market. And then this is the Psi address, okay? So you need the addresses of everything that you're using in your trade. You need the Kyber address, you need the Uniswap address, and then you also need the token address that you're going to trade, okay? So we're going to start with Psi, sell it for Ether, buy it back, and hopefully have more, okay? So the next thing you need are the interfaces for each exchange. So you use interfaces. They're like partial smart contracts that just tell you like the functions on the smart contracts so that you can use them inside your code. So you need the interface for Kyber, which in this case I'm just calling exchange 1. Again, this is just a demonstration. This is not actually the Kyber interface. Basically, you can say like, and Kyber doesn't have a sell tokens function. Like I said, this is just an example. But you would like sell the tokens of this, buy tokens of this. These are 2 exchanges. Then you also need the ERC20 interface. So remember I was telling you earlier, ERC20 tokens are smart contracts that govern cryptocurrency on Ethereum. And Psi uses a smart contract that follows the ERC20 standard, and it has these functions, approve and transfer. So when you do this, you calculate the amount. This is 10 tokens because it's 10 followed by 18 decimal places. Remember I told you that earlier. And then you have to approve the tokens. All right, this is really important. You have to approve them before you can sell them on an exchange. All right. Because right now the smart contract holds the tokens. Like whenever you take out a flash loan, the smart contract will be the owner of the tokens. And when you want to trade them, you have to approve them on that exchange that you want to spend them on, or else the exchange won't spend them and your transaction will fail. And then that's when you can actually do exchange, sell the tokens. All right, you pass in the exchange address, you sell the tokens. All right, you get the Ether back. You hold that into a variable, which that time is contained in the smart contract. And then you buy the tokens back. You pass in the value, which is actually sending Ether into that transaction with the Ether amount that you got. And then you pass in the token address of the thing you want to sell. Okay, so I want to talk about that because this is a very simple example that illustrates this right here. Even that simple example is kind of complicated, but it's important to understand before you try to jump into a more complex example. Basically, that didn't borrow the tokens, but it did approve the tokens, sell them, and buy them back. And so again, if you guys are struggling to understand some of the code in this, I totally get it. Again, we're opening Blockchain Mastery Video Vault back up tonight, and the Slack channel and the live streams. So if you want more help on this kind of stuff, we're definitely going to be talking about this other program. Again, if you want to learn how to code step-by-step for blockchain, I've got that discount link for the blockchain bootcamp down on the splash page for this stream. And there should be a discount link in the YouTube video as well. So if you want to get a lot better at this stuff, I've had people smash through the bootcamp who didn't have any programming backgrounds, and now they're really killing it. So, all right, let's do the next thing here. That's the simple example. Now let's look at the real example. All right. So go ahead and go to the resources and open up the last GitHub gist here. This is the ARB example. All right. This is a much more sophisticated smart contract. And what this does is it basically takes the flashloan template and wires it up with an arbitrage smart contract that does this on Kyber and Uniswap. Okay. So basically it, it buys on Kyber and sells on Uniswap. And it goes from DAI to Ether to DAI. And technically it goes from Psi to Ether back to Psi. So Psi is a little bit different from actual DAI. This is the old version of DAI. That's just backed by Ether and not other cryptocurrencies. So Andy C says, where do I get those contract addresses? So they are in the template, the cryptocurrency addresses are, but honestly, a lot of like the exchange addresses, I'm with Colorado, Colorado. I just Google them typically. Sometimes they're in libraries, but sometimes the exchange addresses change. And you just have to find them. Yeah, it kind of sucks. But if you just Google like Kyber network, smart contracts, you'll find them. That's how I have to do it. They're on Etherscan, so you can always verify that it's the actual smart contracts and that you're not like sending funds to somebody other than Kyber. All right, so yeah, go ahead and open up this last example. This is the actual ARB example. Toss it, remix. Now, I want to add another caveat here, which is this is real code, but it is unaudited code, okay? So I cannot warrant any of this. Like, use this at your own risk. Don't get wrecked. This is my 100% legal disclaimer right here. I'm not telling you to take this code and go put it on the mainnet and like use your own money with it, okay? I highly recommend that you customize for this yourself. Take all precautions. Use this kind of thing at your own risk. In fact, I'm not going to deploy this. Yeah. So that's what I'll say. But I'll show you what this does. So this takes the flashloan template that I've provided, okay, and it adds a trader contract here. And this trader contract is a more sophisticated version of that simple contract that I showed you a second ago. Okay, so I'll show you the trader. Basically, it inherits from both. It just takes the DYDX flashloan, takes the trader, and then just adds the ARB function from the trader. So whenever you perform the flashloan, here's where you do the steps after it. I've just placed a function call in here that's in a different smart contract so that it keeps everything really simple. And we can even take that own smart contract out and like unit test it and stuff like that. So here's the loan stored to a variable. You just pass that down into this function, and it does the magic. So I'll show you what the magic is. So here is the trader contract. Okay. So I've got several other things in here. I've got the Kyber network interface. I've got the ERC20 interface, and I've also got the Uniswap interface as well. Okay. So I've initialized the Kyber proxy here. This is for the Kyber network. I've stored the Psi cryptocurrency address here. And then I've also made this an ownable smart contract. So whenever you put this on the network, only you, the person who deployed it, can like do the flash loans. That's important. So you don't want somebody else calling your flash loans. I mean, sure, it only goes to the smart contract, but you just still don't want somebody else to do it. So let's see here. So it's also payable, so you can allow the contract to receive Ether. And here's the ARB function. So what it does is it basically takes in Psi address. We're going to ARB Psi and on Kyber network, and then we're going to pass in the amount. So the ARB is basically just going to be the flash loan amount. It's going to be taken in here. We're going to put it in Psi. Here's the Uniswap address for the Psi exchange. Okay, we do a Kyber swap here. All right, here's the Kyber network proxy, the Psi token, the token quantity, and the destination address. Actually, these should be flip-flops. Sorry, guys. All right, so I'm actually going to update the gist right now. Actually, sorry. I did that wrong. I was right the first time. Sorry, everybody. From token, yeah, Uniswap amount. That's right. It's right. Sorry, everybody. So, yeah, by Kyber. All right. And then we do the Kyber swap here. So part of what's happening here is the approvals that I was talking about. So this is important. Whenever you make things happen on an exchange, you have to approve the tokens. So the smart contract, where after you take up the flash loan, actually holds the ERC20 tokens. And then you have to approve the exchange when you sell them. And then you get new tokens back. If you do that again, you have to approve it, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. All right. So anyways, after you buy on Kyber, right? Do the Kyber swap, you get Ethereum back or Ether, okay? And then you go to Uniswap and you do ETH token swap input. That's the main function on Uniswap to sell Ether for tokens or buy tokens with Ether, however you want to think about it. You must call value here and pass in the ETH amount, okay? And then pass in the function arguments here. Okay. And that's how it works. So yeah, basically here's the Kyber swap, and then here's the Uniswap swap. And all those are possible by having the Uniswap exchange interface and the Kyber interface inside here. So again, also inside Blockchain Mastery University, we've been using Uniswap. There's some videos in the video vault that I show you how to like programmatically trade on Uniswap and things like that. So if you want to learn more about how to do that in depth and how to like use Uniswap like this, there's lots of good material on that. Okay, so I mean, yeah, this is how it works. This is an example of a real arbitrage setup, okay, with the flash loan. Like I said, I don't necessarily recommend just taking this and using it because it's not audited, but this is an example of how it works. And then also I will say that, I mean, right now, there's not an opportunity for the spread to do this kind of ARB on these two currencies. So even if you just like click deploy and did it right now, you wouldn't necessarily be able to call the function. But what you do, let's just do it on, just do it on the test network. Let's just see here. Just doing the test network here. Compile. All right, let's just deploy it. So basically what you would do is you do get flash loan, do the flash token. Now it's going to fail. That's okay. Let's see here. Flash token. Let's do Psi. And then let's do, like 1 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, click transact. And it's going to fail. That's okay. It's no big deal. But yeah, that's how you would call it from the browser. All right, so moving on here. Let's see. Pull up my notes here. Let's talk about how to ensure that you make money with this. Okay, so becoming profitable. Okay. So you have to. There are lots of things to factor in. First of all, the arbitrage opportunity has to exist. So the spread has to be big enough whenever you calculate the arbitrage that you end up with more cryptocurrency than you started with. Okay, so spread. So the ARB has to actually be there. Okay, and you have to be able to do it instantly. So the next thing are the gas fees, and this is something that's really important to understand. So you'll see when I did this flash loan here, I paid a really high gas price. I paid $2 to do it. But you could pay a cheaper gas price and maybe like $1 to do it, okay? And the more code you add, the more like trades you add inside your flash loan transaction, the more expensive it'll get, okay? So, a really fast, expensive flash loan, maybe like $5, $6, okay? But if you can stand to make a much bigger profit, like why would you care? But I will say for those smaller ARBs, the gas fees might kill the profitability. So sure, you might be able to make $1 on a trade, but if the gas price is higher than $1, then it's not profitable necessarily, okay? The other caveat of that is unless you're basically shorting Ether and you think that Ether price is going to go down relative to the currency that you're, spending. But at that point, I guess why wouldn't you just sell the Ether? So you need to factor in the gas fees. The next are the flash loan transaction fees. So flash loan fees. Luckily, DYDX has incredibly low fees. Basically, they only charge like one tiny unit of your cryptocurrency, so one way. I think Aave is like 0.9% of the entire loan borrowed amount. So the other thing are taxes. So I'm definitely not telling you to go commit tax fraud here. So you need to factor in your taxes when you're talking about the gains that you make from your flash loans as well. So if you can clear profit after all these things, then you have a profitable flash loan. Well, profitable arbitrage is what I would say, sorry. So let's talk about crafting your profitable strategy. So you definitely want to look at multiple exchanges. All right, talking about Uniswap, Kyber Network, let's see, Bancor, Oasis, DYDX, and there's a lot more, okay? These are ones that I would start off with for sure. And you want to look at multiple exchanges, and you also want to look at multiple trading pairs, okay? Multiple. So we're talking about, ETH, WETH, DAI, SAI, USDC, ZRX. There's all kinds of cryptocurrencies out there that are ERC20 tokens that are being traded in pretty high volume, okay? And then, you just start multiplying this out. These aren't pairs necessarily. These are just the cryptocurrencies themselves. So I'll just say multiple currencies. Okay. So you want to look at multiple currencies, and then, you want to look at multiple pairs. Okay. So pairs would be an example of like, ETH to DAI as a pair, USDC to DAI as a pair, WETH to SAI as a pair. I mean, there's like the more currencies you add to this and start moving things around, like there's so many trading pairs out there, okay? And there's so many markets. So that's the beauty of this. You can craft your own strategy where you sort of mix and match and you hunt for your own opportunities, and you might be able to find something that nobody else sees. And that's when the really cool arbitrage opportunities happen. Okay. So there, yeah. And you know, you might be watching this for a while and maybe somebody's been arbing it and you can't get to it. Well, they might stop arbing it and move on to something else. Or like you might watch a pair for a while and then an opportunity pops up that wasn't there before, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So that's the beauty of this. There's so many different possibilities when you start mixing and matching with exchanges, markets, currency pairs. And I'll add one more thing into this that makes it even more crazy. Okay. So you'll notice the DYDX lending pool only supports a handful of currencies, right? So you can only borrow ETH, SAI, USD, C, or DAI, right? It's only 4 currencies. But that's okay because that's just your starting currency. So let's say you want to go swap some pair that you don't really have. Let's say ZRX to OMG, all right? And you can't borrow ZRX or OMG, all right? So you think, well, how do I flash loan arbitrage that? Well, you borrow something like, you know, DAI, and then you find a DAI to ZRX market, all right? So you borrow DAI, go find a DAI to ZRX market, swap it, swap to ZRX OMG, swap OMG back to, you know, ZRX, DAI, and then you go back here. So that's basically like triangular arbitrage, okay? So triangular arbitrage is a very specific arbitrage strategy. So basically it's where you lay out currency pairs on a triangle that don't have a common currency, and you find how you can like profitably move from one to the other and trade things in a triangle to get back to more currency when you started. So I've also got a pretty in-depth explanation on triangular arbitrage and how to calculate that. It's more advanced than the scope of this simple explanation right here, but it's in the Blockchain Mastery video vault. So if you're inside that program, go check out that video maybe after this, watching the replay and get a better example. Okay, let's see here. The next thing, so after you craft your strategy, what you really ultimately want to do is automate this in some way, okay? Some level of automation is going to give you a big leg up on this. So I just dropped a video today on YouTube about, you know, how to steal my cryptocurrency trading bot. But I'll show you this right here. This trading bot's a Node.js app, okay, that basically monitors the blockchain for prices and then actually executes a trade. So if you want to see like, how do you listen for prices on the blockchain? And then how do you actually execute trades on the blockchain from a bot? Then this is how you do it, okay? So that's one of the reasons I released this video today, was sort of be in tandem with this and letting people know about the masterclass. So you could customize this to basically listen to like the price on Kyber, listen to the price on Uniswap. I've actually got Uniswap wired up in here with DAI, okay? So you could take everything I'm talking about tonight, spin this bot up yourself, you know, trade on Uniswap, use DAI. You just need to add Kyber basically and do the kinds of things I'm talking about, and then add your own smart contracts to, you know, trigger the trade right here, okay? So what this does is it checks the prices, okay? And then if the price goes below a certain point, it makes a trade. So you can do the same concept. Basically, you could listen for the buy price and the sell price on 2 different exchanges. And if there's this big enough spread, then you can execute a flash loan. That's basically what it is. So, yeah, go ahead and, you know, you can grab this from GitHub, do something like that yourself. So you can automate, you know, automating this can get complex for sure. But what you can do is you can start simple. Basically, you can automate price discovery, and then maybe you actually trigger the fulfillment, okay? So maybe like you just create a bot that logs the prices, and whenever you find an arbitrage opportunity, the bot can alert you, and then you can actually trigger the flash loan if you don't feel comfortable like letting the bot spend your ether for you, okay? So like, don't forget, it costs some ether to trigger a flash loan. And so let's say your bot malfunctions and it spends all the money from your wallet. Like that can happen. Okay, so don't get wrecked. All right, don't get wrecked. If you're letting your bot spend money for you, only put a really small amount in there to cover gas fees. Like, so when I do bots, I usually put a max of $100 into a bot account to pay gas fees, because that limits the downside. If the bot has a bug and then spends all the money from the wallet, then I don't want it to drain, like thousands of dollars or, potentially more than that from a wallet by accident. So definitely only put in a tiny amount to cover your gas fees if you're going to create a bot that trades for you. Okay, so let's see here. So yeah, the last thing I was talking about, so automation, and that has two sides, which are price discovery and then also trading, or I say execution. And this would be, flash loans and then arbitrage. All right, so let's go ahead and move into the FAQ time here. We've got a few minutes for questions. I know it's been quite a lengthy stream tonight, but I want to cover this topic as in depth as possible for you guys. Just try to deliver as much value as I can, show you how to perform the flash loan step by step, give you the code to do it, give you some examples on how to think about this, and also some real arbitrage code examples. So, like I said, man, flash loans are awesome. I'm focusing on this myself. I wanted to show you all about this because, honestly, the cat's out of the bag. Other people are talking about it. I want to show you all because, I think there's opportunity to go around. I think there's lots of ways to craft your own strategy for arbitrage, and these are some ideas on how to do it. Nice. Okay, so let's look at some examples, some questions here. So we'll officially move into FAQ time. So we'll officially conclude the presentation part of things, start answering questions here. So let's see here. Sounds like my attorney is watching. Yeah, I like to just make sure I'm covering myself. I'll put it that way. So Joseph says, do I need to write arbitrage steps in Remix, or can I use flash loan deposit into MetaMask and then transfer to centralized exchanges for arbitrage? So yes, you need to write the code in Remix. So the reason why is everything inside the flash loan happens inside of a single transaction. And that transaction happens, the smart contract itself actually governs that transaction, if that makes sense. So let's see here. I lost my Remix window here. So Jai says, what's the maximum amount of time the transaction can remain open? How do we have to complete the loan? How long do we have? So you have, it has to be completed in one transaction. Now that being said, let's say you wanted to just go in here and use a really low gas price, just 1 gwei or something like that. It would take your transaction, a day to go through. It's probably not going to go through because the miners, you're so cheap on your transaction that the miners aren't going to prioritize it, and it's not going to work. And honestly, if you find a profitable arbitrage opportunity that has a good spread, you want to pay a high gas price because it will be worth it, because somebody else might see it at the same time. And the faster you are and the more you pay for it, the more likely your transaction is to beat theirs. All right. So how long did it take me for me to get profitability using flash loans? That's a good question. Not long. I just had to find, it didn't take me that long. Let's see here. I don't remember exactly how long. I remember I was kind of really into flash loans, spent a couple weeks learning about it before I started executing them for real. But as soon as I started executing them, I was profitable pretty fast, maybe a week. I don't know for sure. That's just an estimate. So Lex says, I'm really curious, how much percent difference do you need to get a profitable trade? I would say the rule of thumb is about 1%, Lex. It depends, but if you want a really simple rule of thumb, you can say 1%. I mean, you see spreads bigger than that in cryptocurrency markets for sure. So Isaac says, can I recap in a few lines the instructions? So yeah, basically what we did tonight, we talked about, what are flash loans? And there's a replay after this. So if you all want the replay link, it'll be emailed out for those of you that just joined straight for the masterclass. If you're inside Blockchain Mastery University, it'll be there forever in the video vault. What are flash loans? How do you use them? All right, talked about arbitrage. What is arbitrage? How to do flash loans step by step. And then how to do arbitrage step by step. And then also how to profit. That's basically what we covered tonight. I know we covered a lot, but there's a lot to this. So I wanted to, just give you guys as much value as possible. All right. So people have asked about slippage. Okay. So yeah, slippage is definitely a thing. I'll tell you what I personally do about slippage. I'll put it this way. Sometimes I will try a flash loan arbitrage and it won't necessarily work for a few reasons. Somebody might beat me to it. Sometimes slippage happens and the return amount that goes into the next trade doesn't work. At this point in time, what I'm doing is mostly just trying things at scale. I do lose a little bit of money on transaction fees for unsuccessful trades, but my strategy basically is to let the winners make up for the losses. I'm not quite as scientific and precise with slippage and trying to calculate everything perfectly. I sometimes will just factor in my own sort of slippage tolerance and calculate that on the front end with the trade to determine whether I think the trade is going to be profitable or not. And sometimes I'm wrong and it fails. I just sort of let it lie. And that's another reason that I say limit how much money goes into your bot wallet, because you don't want your bot to have $10,000 worth of ether and then freak out and then just keep trading over and over and over and over and over again into an infinite loop and just drain all the money out of your wallet. You don't want that to happen. So what is the easiest way to import other smart contracts into your Solidity contract? So I just saw that question. So I would recommend just using Remix. So just like I showed you, you can just diff. You can kind of look at these two code examples. Here's the DYDX flash loan example. And then here's the ARB example and the simple ARB example. So you can see how I basically just took the DYDX flash loan and then added some smart contracts in here, like this trader, for example. I just literally just pasted it in there. And then down here, I just, said ARB example is DYDX flash loan, comma, trader, which is the other smart contract that I just pasted inside of here. And then you get all the functions inside of this once you do that. So I hope that makes sense. That's the easiest way to do it. You can get more sophisticated with Truffle, but I really want to make this as simple as possible for people who don't have extensive coding backgrounds that just want to learn how to do this. That's what's the beauty about this, is you can do it all from your browser. And honestly, I do a lot of these just in browser rather than trying to use Truffle and all that stuff because I don't really need it. So Anthony says, how do you find the spreads in real time? Is there a scanner or a bot that can alert you? Yeah, I've seen bots out there. I build everything myself. So I basically, like that cryptocurrency trading bot that I showed you, my basic Node.js example, you could definitely create that for yourself, where you see what the price is, the buy price on one exchange, sell price on another exchange, and then you just write some code to calculate the spreads. That's what I do. How to know the maximum amount we can borrow on an ARB opportunity. So DYDX has the amounts probably published somewhere. I don't actually know what they are off the top of my head. You know, I've never run into a situation where I've exhausted the amount of funds that I can borrow on flash loans. So that may be a lesson just to be learned the hard way. But you can certainly look that up. Okay, so let's see here. How do I audit the code? So basically, if you want to do auditing, basically you'd write your own code and you would talk to a security auditor to go through it. I mean, if you get good at this stuff, the real downside to I don't audit my contracts that I use for my own flash loans. I'll just put it that way, because there's not that much risk involved. No one else uses them but me. If I lose money, I lose money. Basically, the worst things that could happen are my cryptocurrency gets locked into my smart contract where I can't pull it out, or like somebody else steals my funds out of there or something. And yeah, how I combat that is, I mean, I've done this enough times where I'm pretty certain that's not going to happen, and I just drain my contracts regularly so they're not holding onto funds, and I test things out by hand before I go live. Okay, so Justin says, so for the subscription course, what does that cover for future access? So the subscription program is Blockchain Mastery University. So what we do is we have a weekly updated video. We do live streams like this, live classes on a semi-regular basis. And then we also have a Slack chat for, you know, basically 24/7 chat access where you can get help, all that kind of stuff. I'm in there every day. We got a pretty thriving community in there who are working on this kind of stuff and helping each other out. So the video vault, like I said, gets a new video every single week. We've been talking about DeFi, talking about arbitrage, flash loans for weeks, really, up to this point. And we kind of put everything together in this culminating video for the masterclass. So Corey says, it feels like he watched this back, he'll have 100 questions. Yeah, that's okay, Corey. I mean, I'm still serious. I think you could learn to program for this. And maybe you're a programmer already. This is still relatively simple in the grand scheme of things. And, you know, hey man, if you need help, like I said, we're always here inside that community. That's what it's there for. So Heinrich says, are the profits stored in the flash loan contract? So yes, they are. And that's why you have to withdraw them. So in the ARB example that I showed you here, basically it has a withdraw funds function. That's this right here. Okay, so that basically takes the ether out and then takes out the psi. So it takes out the tokens and takes out the ether. So what is the code for returning the flash loan back to DYDX? So that is all handled internally inside this flash loan function right here, okay, which gets inherited from inside this template. This is the DYDX template flash loan. It handles all of the lending and paying back, okay. So Miyamoto says, how does this work for token assets? Is there a marketplace for tokens related to high ticket physical assets that can be used for this case, for trade specifically? So it depends on what kind of assets you're talking about. So I know that there are other protocols. So I'll first and foremost say that I don't personally have experience with this, but like Synthetics is a platform that allows you to trade synths, or you can do things like Forex, you could do Bitcoin, which is of course not native to Ethereum, and other synthetic assets. So I don't know if you can do flash loans with those types of things. I haven't personally tried it, but that may be something for you to check out. So it's flash loan limit based on the individual or just the available pool? So the available pool, yeah. And theoretically, that amount doesn't really change because everything is synchronous. Is 5 GUI kind of typically a fairly quickly executable gas fee? 5 GUI is kind of slow, actually, for a smart contract call like that. I would recommend probably like 15, 20. If you really want to get fast with Flash, then I would say like 50 GUI, like 25, 50 GUI, something like that. So can you tell us about how to mount to borrow depending on the volume and slippage? So yeah, basically you want to find the opportunity. You want to find the depth of the trade. Okay, how big the orders are, because there's every market has demand. That's basically how this works. So what you could do is calculate the amount inside the transaction in real time for the trade, like when you're doing it inside of here. You know, your loan amount can be bigger. Like you could potentially borrow $1 million and then just use like $100 of that million that you borrowed to fill an order, or maybe like a partial fill or something like that. Okay. So you would just write code inside this transaction to do it. So you could try to fetch in real time what the remaining fillable amount is for that order. Or maybe you say, I only want to fill like 90% of the order to accommodate the difference, or like that, to be safe. They could actually go through. Okay. You could write all that code inside on the contract side. You could do it on the front end side before you execute the trade. There's lots of ways to do that, but it does require a little bit of kind of thinking about how to do it and what your strategy is. So Clinton says, do I need to learn Solidity? So you definitely want to learn some amount of Solidity, but if you're talking about just simple like token transfers, like you don't need to know that much Solidity in order to do it. Like I said, it's just one programming language. You can do everything in your browser. I mean, also you could hire somebody to do this is another thing. Like you could get on Upwork.com, hire a freelancer. You might be able to find somebody in blockchain mastery to do it for you. If you don't want to write the code yourself, but if you have a strategy that you want to implement, that's definitely a way to do it. Got a lot of questions coming in here. All right, so here, what DeFi exchanges are orders also for certain quantities, a certain price? So even if you had 1 million ETH, you can only buy a little bit at like the quoted price. Yeah, so you basically have to check on the depth of whatever the depth of that is at that given time. Right. Try out use swap or cover what price it gives you. Sorry, there's a lot of questions here. I'll make sure I get to all of them. So Zig says, how can I add a flash loan button like the exchange used in the boot camp? Oh, so you're saying like, how do you create a user interface or something like this? Yeah. So yeah, definitely. You can take the knowledge from the blockchain bootcamp to implement that. You would put your flash loan smart contract on the blockchain. Okay. And then you would take the ABI from that. Okay. You could go in here. Let's see. Let me open up Remix again. Sorry. So basically, whenever you compile it, you'll get an ABI here. Where is it? Let's go to compile step. Yeah, copy the ABI. All right, so that's this big JSON file. And then you'll paste it in there. Okay, this is the basically JSON description of your flashloan smart contract. And you would use Web3.js with a front-end framework like React, for example. That's what we use inside the bootcamp. And you would create a form with like the flash amount, the flash token, and yeah, you'd use Web3.js to talk to the smart contract with React and trigger the transaction just like we do inside the bootcamp. And you can put in any amount that you want to. All right, let's see here. More questions. Not talking about this amount, but how much can I max borrow on a single ARB? So Edgar, I'm not 100% sure what the borrowing limits are. It depends on the currency, I'm pretty sure. We had to look it up. Like I said, I've never exhausted the limits. You can borrow millions of dollars for sure on DYDX and Aave. If anybody else in the chat happens to know the answer to that question, feel free to jump in because I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. I have never exhausted the limits. Yeah, you could borrow $1 million every time if you wanted to. It's all synchronous, so the funds are always there every time someone does it. Every transaction is synchronous. It's one by one. Is what I mean. So if you do a flash loan right after somebody else, they've already borrowed it, paid it back, and then the money's there for you to use again. So is a method or a process we can follow to review or code executes well? So yeah, basically what you want to do is make sure your code first and foremost compiles, and then you want to deploy it. And if it compiles and deploys, that's the huge first step. And then if it fails, you get a transaction failure. You can use something like, sometimes Etherscan will show you the reason for failure. And if not, you can use something like a Bloxy. So like Bloxy, just find an example. So like Bloxy will show you like what happens if something fails. You could look at all the stack trace on it. All right, when you buy, sell, do you have to find individuals with available funds, like a pool to buy from everyone at once? So it depends on the protocol. Sometimes you do have, like if you're going to an exchange that has a market with buy orders and sell orders, you might be trying to fill buy or sell orders. Sometimes there are just like instant swap dexes. And if the prices on those fall out of sync, then you have the ability to just bring them back into sync. And you have to basically calculate what the depth is on each of those to know how much to borrow. So, question, do you have examples of training templates where I could learn on how to close out debt? Or if not, no other resources where I could learn on how to do it. So maybe talking about like a CDP, like from Compound or Maker, for example. So I haven't been doing that myself with flash loans. But I will answer your other question here, which is basically as the code so no action takes place, time passes to allow the price to change. So that's the whole thing. Everything happens in real time. So you can't like take out the loan and wait for the price to change and then do another operation. Everything has to be instant. Like I said, you could pay a really low gas fee and your transaction would take longer, but it's probably not actually going to go, it's not going to work because your transaction won't get prioritized. Because the price, it's about the price at the time of the actual trade. So Justin says, is there a bigger access pass or something else to sign up for? So this is the flashloan masterclass. If you join the masterclass outright, this is the masterclass. You'll get this. You'll get the replay. This will also go inside the Blockchain Mastery University Video Vault. That's the membership program where we've been talking about flash loans, DeFi, everything, new video every week, live streams, chat access. And then the blockchain bootcamp is the step-by-step curriculum where you learn everything on how to build real-world blockchain applications from scratch. So we build a DeFi project inside the blockchain bootcamp. So if you want to master Solidity, that's the way to go. I show you how to build a DEX, like a real-world decentralized cryptocurrency exchange that you could deploy to the main Ethereum network to do stuff like this. You could add flash loans to it to become your own market maker for your own DEX. It's pretty crazy. So Johnson says, do I have an Aave template? So there is an Aave template. Let's see. So Truffle actually has an Aave template. I'll show you. This is it right here. They have a Aave flash loan box for Truffle. I don't personally use this, but I've seen this out there. So you can basically look at the Aave flash loan box for Truffle. We're probably going to be covering Aave inside of Blockchain Mastery University as another provider for flash loans, just to give you all another option. Okay, so let's see here. Make sure I get to all these questions here. So Edgar says, how can we determine the max amount? Can you borrow? Yeah, you could borrow $1 million each time. It won't matter. So Pravir says it's best to arbitrage on decentralized exchanges. So flash loans are pretty much the only, you can't use flash loans necessarily to trade on centralized exchanges. You need to use decentralized exchanges because everything has to happen natively on the blockchain within the same transaction. So Anthony says, can you write code to fill 100%? And if not available, fill the remaining amount? Yes, you can do partial fills. And basically you see how much is there left to be filled, and you just use that amount. So you could borrow $1 million and just have that and just fill, $10,000 on an order if that's all that's left, and fill the remaining amount. So does the bootcamp offer a project like this to attempt? Sounds like a project to pursue. Yeah, so the bootcamp, we show you how to build a decentralized exchange step-by-step. It's like 15 hours with a video, so it's really in-depth. It's highly recommended. Oh, so yeah, somebody says, how do I get to the compiler? Good question. So go to the plugins tab here, search for compiler. If you don't have it already, the new version of Remix for some reason doesn't include it by default sometimes. So Lex says, it wasn't DYDEX lending pool 26 million. That might be the case. I'm not sure. I've never exhausted it. So yes, Colin, that's right. Basically max amount. Yeah. Lending pool liquidity size. Yeah. The Bloxy, it's BOLXI. So Bloxy is what I use to debug transactions sometimes. Will address change to Aave suffice ARB opportunity on Aave? I guess I'm not really sure what question that is. Yeah, Johnson. So the presentation is complete. We're just going over FAQs right now. So the limit on profit in the order book of the DEX. Yeah, on an open order book DEX, that's the limit of the profit at that time. But the profit's always changing. New orders are being opened, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I was talking about the horizontal scale is, it all depends on what's out there at any given point in time, but that amount can change over time. So somebody said at the beginning, you said users to close out debt. So that's if you've opened up like a CDP on a like MakerDAO, for example, and if the value of your debt has changed. Is there a monthly bootcamp membership program? So there is a monthly payment plan for the bootcamp available. So Pravir says, do I have to register on any of the DEXs to perform this, like Aave, DY, DX? Nope, you don't have to register. Everything is wallet-to-wallet trading or non-custodial trading. You don't have to KYC. That's the beauty of all this. You don't have to be approved to do any of this. It's all open financial platform. So Miyamoto asks, is the bootcamp self-paced? Yes, it's all self-paced. So all the bootcamp content is self-paced. The blockchain mastery program is, we have a new video every week. We've changed it now to where it's once a month we have a live class like this. So there will be some live instruction, but everything else will be on-demand video, self-paced. So what is the time frame for a flash loan to process take? About 1 second. And it takes several seconds typically. Like the one I did here took about 28 seconds. Thanks, Johnson. I'm glad you stayed up late in the UK to watch this. So Richard says, can we run the same trade multiple times in the same transaction before we return the loan instead of returning the ARB, then running it again? Yep, you can do it as many times as you want to. You can perform 100 operations inside the contract if you want to. Yeah, Colin's right. So he says that's why we need to automate with a bot and build horizontal scale. That's the idea for sure. Basically, you look for the opportunities over and over and over again, rinse and repeat. That's what the bot's for. So who has control of the flash loan contract on the blockchain? So that's why I implemented this ownable smart contract here. So you want to own your own smart contract, let no one else call the functions except you. And so your wallet will be the owner. You'll control it essentially. So the easiest way to connect the spotter bot to the flash loan smart contracts. So I'll just pull up that bot here, and I'll probably give us a 10-minute warning here, everybody. We've been about almost 2 hours on the stream here, so it's been great. But we need to wrap up here pretty soon. Let's see here. Okay, so trading bot. So he's saying, how do I wire it up? Basically, you take the ABI, like I showed you earlier, from, what's it called? Remix. And you put it in here. You would basically do something like this, but you would, I'll just copy all this. Oops. So basically you would like, do like create a new thing like flash loan contract. And then actually put in your flash loan ABI here, flash loan address. All right. And you just put this here. Let's be like flash loan contract. And then inside your bot here, you could do like, 08 flash loan contract, methods, flash loan, then pass in the token and then amount. And that would perform your flash loan. Something like that. So of course you want to do that inside your own function. That's just a high level approach, but that's how you do it. All right, so let's see here. Is Bloxy better than the truffle debugger? I like Bloxy. Yeah, I've used Truffle Debugger sometimes, but you have to have the contract inside your Truffle project in order to. Truffle has to know about the source code, is what I would say, and I don't use Truffle to deploy my flashloan contracts to the mainnet because the deployments are more expensive. Can you make a web interface for this? Of course you can. Yeah. So somebody asked me that a minute ago. So you just put your smart contract on the blockchain, and then you create a JavaScript application with Web3 and like React, for example, just like the tutorials I show you on the YouTube channel and also inside the bootcamp. And you would talk to it just like this. So does a membership program teach how to create a new cryptocurrency and deploy it to the blockchain? So I'm not sure that we cover that inside the membership program, but it's definitely into the bootcamp. I show you how to create a cryptocurrency from scratch. We build it step by step. ERC20 token. Have upgradable smart contracts. We haven't talked about it much in the membership program because people haven't. It hasn't been a critical topic of conversation, but if people want to talk about it, we certainly can. Yeah, take commission off others firing an ARB. Or you could just be a market maker on another exchange. Okay, sign up for the membership, got the email, thanks for blockchain master university, click on the access the course when it says I need to enroll, never create a password. Yeah, so basically whenever you sign up, you get an invitation to join, and then you just click through and set your password, and you should be able to have access, Michael. So if you have any questions with that, you can reach out over email, but hopefully you can get that taken care of. So this masterclass, that's the whole thing to create a bot from scratch. So yeah, I mean, you can, we certainly concentrate more on the flash loan side of things and the arbitrage side of things, but definitely check out that video I showed you today that will help you glue these things together where you can create your own bot to trigger your flash loans. Bootcamp tracks, fast track to learn, do this, smart contract lessons, select lessons, review this class, what else? I think that's it. Yeah, it definitely is smart contracts, getting better solidity, doing everything in Remix with your browser. Definitely review this. And then digging in deep to crafting your strategy. That's what I would say. So why not feasible to test the smart contracts using Truffle Fork? Sorry if this was talked about before. So you can. So here's the thing. It's really slow. And sometimes I just like doing on mainnet more. If you want to try it with the Truffle mainnet fork, I have definitely done that. I prefer the mainnet. Sometimes the transactions don't always go through, or you have to like reset your node and things like that if it stays there for too long. But it can be super helpful if you want to pause the blockchain at a certain time when you saw an arbitrage opportunity and you want to test your code to see if it will work at that point in time. So yeah, if you want to try it, go for it. But yes, Colin's also right. If you're talking about test networks, a lot of liquidity pools don't operate on test networks. But he was asking about forking the mainnet for Ganache CLI, which you definitely can do. But I prefer coding against the mainnet. So Isaac said, crypto payment for bootcamp. Yeah, Isaac, just shoot me an email. We can try to work out cryptocurrency payments. Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to having you in there, K-Lark. All right, everybody. We'll go ahead and take last call for questions here, and then I'm going to wrap this up. It's been a great stream tonight. I've been super excited about this all week. I'm glad everybody could make it. We'll go ahead and give it last call for questions. Awesome. So if you have a message in Slack, go ahead and drop them in the general channel. If you have something really important, you can definitely message me.